What's up, everybody? GeauxBurns marking 1 month since Mafia 3 came out. It was October 7th, a Friday, when Mafia 3 was released worldwide on Xbox One, PlayStation 4, and PC. So today, November 7th, marks, I guess you could say, 1 month later. But some of you would probably be saying, well, wouldn't this past Friday be 1 month later? I'm just going by the date. Let's just go by November 7th, okay? Anyways, so we're going to go over your thoughts regarding Mafia 3. What you think of Mafia 3 1 month later after you got the game as opposed to before the game with all the hype. Now as you played it, I'm going to talk about some of your reactions. And then I'm going to chime in with my 2 cents regarding how I feel about Mafia 3 1 month later. So let's get to it, shall we? Go into my comment section. Newt! This is what he said. Personally, I see it selling less copies because of Lincoln himself. I remember when Mafia 3 was announced, when the trailer hit, so many racial slurs were thrown at Lincoln, and many people outright calling the game, quote-unquote, social justice warrior pandering, and boycotting it because, quote-unquote, black people weren't in the Mafia. Despite the fact that common knowledge of the black mob, I was so shocked to see so many Mafia fans denounce the game because you play as a biracial black man. Well, biracial man, because he's black and white. So, anyways, continuing. Of course, this could all be subjective. Some people didn't want to play it for that reason, or other reasons altogether. It's really unfair to compare the game to Grand Theft Auto 5. It didn't have the same funding, production, and media support of Grand Theft Auto 5. Had there been more commercials, more media, more outreach, I think the game could have sold wonderfully. Well, I agree with you on some points, Newt, but now when it comes to the advertising, it had a massive advertising budget. I mean, the viral marketing went on from April, which I covered, obviously, on my channel, all the way up to October. And there was a lot of ads, whether it was on YouTube or it was on, I saw it on, TV, I was watching the CW, watching Flash, Arrow, let's see, Supergirl, and of course Legends of Tomorrow. Those 4 shows I watch on CW, along with South Park on Comedy Central. So yeah, I saw plenty of ads for Mafia 3. So in that regard, I disagree. But I do agree with you regarding, probably the budget when it came to making Mafia 3 compared to the budget for Grand Theft Auto 5, because these are 2 separate development houses, both of which are under Take-Two. You have a new company called Hangar 13, an upstart, with some veteran developers and writers and whatnot. This was their first, rodeo, as they say. But then again, on the other side with Rockstar, they basically have an almost unlimited budget when it comes to their games. So yeah, there's a difference there, obviously. But like I said, with the outreach and the adverts, I think that they put a lot of money into that regarding Mafia 3. And to some point, I do agree with your issue regarding the fact that there were a lot of people out there that were bashing the game from the get-go, from the reveal trailer back in August, whenever, it was announced, August 2015, and the protagonist was Lincoln Clay, who is a biracial character. And unfortunately, I saw that too in several of my early videos for Mafia 3 in 2015, which really, really sucked. So yeah, unfortunately there were those out there that were like that. And there were those that were more traditional Mafia fans that simply didn't have an issue based on racism. It was simply because they were expecting a Mafia game to be centered around the Mafia. Similar to the first 2 games with the protagonists like Tommy Angelo in the first Mafia, Vito in the second Mafia game, going into the mob, trying to work their way up, and then everything just collapsing in on them and all sorts of other, shit falling through. It was a different take regarding Mafia 3, and I think it was a bold direction for Hangar 13 to take in every capacity regarding the protagonist, Lincoln Clay, regarding the angle, and of course the setting, 1968 New Bordeaux, aka New Orleans, during the Civil Rights era, as well as counterculture, as well as the Vietnam War. So yeah, I mean, there's many factors that could have led to Mafia 3 not being as big of a success as it could have been. Moving on to Vashon. For me, honestly, I love the game. It's not perfect, but I loved every single bit of it. Hopefully, they patch up the game soon, and I'm curious to see how much it sold. So yeah, that's a very interesting question, Vashon. It's been a month since Mafia 3's come out, and you got to really hope that Hangar 13 is not twiddling their thumbs and they're actually working on a major patch that's going to fix a lot of the issues that a lot of us have had, like the bugs, the glitches, the crashes, the freezes. Because, it's been a while since the game launched a month later. So I'm hoping that we'll get a patch for Mafia 3 soon. All right, so next, let's move on to Session Box. Mafia 3 is a terrible game, in my opinion. And unfortunately, a lot of people feel that way. And it has nothing to do with some of the points that Newt made a moment ago. It's just from a gamer point of view, some people didn't like Mafia 3 because of the issues I just talked about. The crashes, the glitches, the bugs. And it's more than enough to turn people off regarding any game. It doesn't matter if it's Mafia 3. It's any game in general. Whenever it has too many issues and it's just so many headaches, you just want to turn it off and move on with your life. And of course, Kevin Boston 7 is curious as well as to how many copies were sold. The same question that Vishan was asking. Yeah, I mean, because there's a huge difference between a game shipping, like let's see, Take-Two was boasting in some articles last week about 4.5 million copies shipping worldwide, calling it the largest shipping of a game in 2K history. But it's one thing to ship a game to like stores like, let's see, GameStop, Walmart, Best Buy, etc. It's another thing for the games to actually be bought off the shelf, whether it was in pre-order or post-order, when the game was released on October 7th. So those numbers will be fascinating to see how many of the 4.5 million copies, not 2.4 million copies of the game, were actually purchased across the world. Moving on to Mambo 2811. Also still haven't played the game because I'm waiting for the Pro to come out. And apparently he also has himself an HDR TV to go with it. So I hope it's a really good quality HDR TV. I know HDR technology is still in its adolescence. But yeah, that's something we talked about on the International Podcast over on Carrick's channel, ACG, on, let's see, Friday. He posted it like early Saturday morning if you guys want to go check it out. We talked about a lot of things in the International Podcast. Myself, Carrick, and of course, Silver, Reg. It's our usual team, part of the International Podcast over at ACG. And yeah, I mean, the HDR TVs out there are not, some of them are good. A lot of them are kind of crap. And it's kind of a gamble right now in order to get one that actually works really well with the PlayStation Pro, which is coming out very, very soon. And I just think the technology isn't there yet for HDR TVs. Eventually, you're going to get real good quality HDR TVs. And the big issue, which Carrick has talked about in several of his HDR videos on his channel, is the problem that you have this delay factor when it comes to HDR TVs. And was it HRD? Yeah, HDR TVs. I'm getting tongue-tied when it comes to that. And, hooking it up into the PlayStation Pro, there is apparently some issues there with delays. Like, you'll be like, first-person shooter, say Battlefield 1, and you would be at a disadvantage because it's not as instantaneous as, say, on the regular PlayStation 4 and a regular, state-of-the-art TV, pre-HDR. Anyway, so let's hope that Mafia 3 looks good on the PlayStation 4 Pro along with HDR TV. And by then, hopefully, Hangar 13 will have a good quality patch out that will fix a lot of the issues that we are experiencing. Next, we move on to iHall. GeauxBurns, it was overall a disappointment for me. I love Mafia 1 and 2, but this game is a glitch fest combined with terrible AI and repetitive missions. And unfortunately, yeah, I mean, I gotta say, I for the most part, despite some of the things I enjoyed about Mafia 3, it was, great characters, including Lincoln Clay, a fantastic story. There definitely are some disappointing factors concerning Mafia 3, and it's difficult to compare it to Mafia 1 and 2 because those were two great games as well. And I think if it wasn't for all the bugs and the glitches and the crashes that we have experienced, I think it would be considered a far better game. And it is unfortunate that it seems like, and it's just my opinion, that Mafia 3 was rushed out before the holidays. And I think that's one reason why Hangar 13 kept the October 7th release date, was because 2K was probably pushing him. I mean, Take-Two was pushing Hangar 13 to get the game out before the holiday season so it would sell copies. Unfortunately, that's how a lot of businesses work, especially in the gaming industry, when in truth, looking back now a month later, I would have to say that Mafia 3 would have benefited from at least 3 to 6 more months of polishing, as well as including the free updates, which we have still yet to receive. The next comment comes from CJ Ware. Awesome video, dude. I was curious to see how it's sold. I still think it'll be night and day how much different the game is, at least for me, with some player customization, DLCs, and the new car stuff. And, of course, Mambo said something about it having over 350,000 owners on Steam. So, an interesting number there. But let's go back to what CJ was talking about, because it's going to chime into some things that I would like to say before I wrap up the video. Now, here's the question here, and I really don't know how to properly say this. Maybe it goes back to what we were just talking about a moment ago, with the fact that maybe the game should have been delayed 3 or 6 months in order to be polished, to have it tested more, because obviously it wasn't tested well enough with all the bugs and issues and glitches and crashes and freezes that a lot of us have experienced. So right then and there, you see a need to delay the game. Furthermore, with all the free updates that are supposed to be coming out sooner rather than later, like clothing options for Lincoln Clay, the additional vehicle customization, as well as the races, maybe, just maybe, Mafia 3 would have been a better game if Hangar 13 would have been given more time in order to get all that stuff implemented, put into the game as well, and cleaned it up. And I know a lot of people would have complained, including myself, about a delay. But I really feel like in hindsight, it would have benefited from being delayed. That's just how I feel about it, looking back 1 month later, despite how much I have enjoyed the game. I did. And there's a lot of things about the game I really like. I like the motto that Hangar 13 had concerning the gameplay in Mafia 3, no failure but death. The ability to go in, and even though the missions are repetitive to some degree, you could go at it from different points of view. You could go in stealthy, doing brutal takedowns. You could go in sniping. You could go in guns blazing, or lobbing grenades or Molotov cocktails at your enemies, or calling in reinforcements, from Vito's hit squad. So that's definitely a way to counter the repetitiveness in some of the missions, when you're taking down the districts and the rackets in the game. But at the same time, like I said, even through my Let's Play, there were numerous occasions where it crashed. And the first episode, you remember how depressed I got near the end of the first episode of my Let's Play. I was so excited to finally get to play Mafia 3. And then it's an end on that note with the, gumbo freezing. And no matter what I did, the gumbo would keep freezing. Fortunately, we were able to figure it out. I was discussing the matter with Hangar 13 via Twitter, and, it was a simple issue of just unplugging my Xbox and then waiting 30 seconds and then plugging it back in. And then I never really had any other freezes after that, except for the occasional crashes and some of those glitches I personally saw, like the no water underneath one of the boats, or like some of the flying cars. Those are kind of funny, admittedly, but at the same time, yeah, it's kind of lousy. And then there was like one scene I remember where I was running around in a mission. I was complaining about the sun being too bright, and like, if you watched that episode, you probably agree with me on that, and you probably experienced it too if you were had opportunity to play Mafia 3. So yeah, I really feel like that, despite the fact I enjoyed the game, like Carrick says over at ACG during his walking the walk of Mafia 3, and this is something we discussed a little bit more in the ACG podcast, is the fact that I have to agree with him. I hate to say this, but it really feels like the game is beta, and it needed more time to be polished. And as a fan of the Mafia series, as most of you know, as someone that's been excited about Mafia 3 since the reveal trailer in August 2015, and someone that really promoted Mafia 3 on my channel starting, I guess you could say, in April, once they got the viral marketing going, I covered almost everything. The postcards, the newspaper articles, the case files, any trailers that came out, all that jazz. Because I was really, really excited about Mafia 3. But looking back, I'd have to say that, we really could have benefited from having the game take a little bit more time to get finished. And it sucks, but that's just the way it goes. Now, I really hope that sometime this week, Hangar 13 will finally roll out a patch. I mean, I don't know if it's announced yet. I haven't seen anything on Twitter or anywhere else concerning that fact. I just feel like a month later, they should be getting ready to release a patch. And hopefully that patch will fix a lot of the issues that I've been talking about the past few weeks. Because I really do want Hangar 13 to succeed. They seem like really good guys, and they've been very transparent. They've listened to the fan base, and it's just a conflict, I believe. And this is just my opinion about this. I have no facts to back it up, but it just really feels like to me that the game was probably, pushed by Take-Two to get out at a certain time for the holidays. And it's sad that that's the way it goes, but in the end, it is what it is. So hopefully when the patch comes out, hopefully sooner rather than later, it'll make the game way better. I mean, I'm not expecting a night and day difference, but there's definitely a lot of things that need to be fixed and tweaked in order to get the game running a lot smoother with less bugs, glitches, crashes, freezes, etc. So yeah, I'm looking forward to the patch along with the free updates. And of course, eventually, whenever the expansions come out, whatever the ETA on the expansions are, who knows? I mean, I don't even know if we'll get one by the end of 2016. Maybe they'll start rolling out the expansions sometime in 2017. So, yeah, like CJ Ware said, there's probably going to be a night and day difference between how the game is now and how it's going to be after the patch, after the free updates, after the expansions. But by then, will it be too little too late? Or are you simply just going to have to wait for like a quote-unquote Game of the Year edition for Mafia 3? So, there you have it. That's my take regarding Mafia 3 1 month later. I've come back and played it a little bit, just goofing off, driving around, feeding people to alligators and whatnot. But for the most part, I mean, I've just been patiently waiting for the patch in order to fix some of the issues. And, of course, allow me to actually finally use my kickback bonus. I mean, I still haven't been able to use the cars or the weapons, and that's an issue that others have had as well, specifically on Xbox One. So, yeah, that kind of sucks. But anyways, let me know your opinions below in the comment section. What do you think of Mafia 3? Did it live up to the hype in your opinion? Was it a letdown? Or if you're ready to move on from Mafia 3, let's talk about the future. What do you expect, or what would you like to see in a future Mafia game? In, say, Mafia 4? Do you want it to be a continuation, a sequel of Mafia 3 with perhaps a new protagonist? Maybe set somewhere in the 70s, maybe in, say, Vegas, for example? Or would you like it to be a prequel set somewhere between Mafia 2 and 3? Or would you like it to go back and, say, the 1930s, similar to where the first Mafia game was? Or would you like a remaster of the original Mafia game? Let me know your thoughts below in the comment section.